Jim, 10 years ago this September is when the U.S. financial system seemed like it was on the edge of just falling apart, blowing up, whatever image you want to use. You had the failure of Lehman Brothers, you had the rescue of AIG, and you had the forced sale of Merrill Lynch, all just, you know, like dominoes falling, and it led the financial system to seize up because nobody knew which bank was next, who else was weak, what, you know, where the vulnerabilities were.
A combination of greed, a lot of greed, some stupidity, some regulators who seem to be absent or simply believe that the market can take care of itself, led to this. You had the subprime mortgage crisis, a lot of people getting mortgages who should never have had mortgages, pushing up the price of homes. Then when that tipped, suddenly people realized that they had a whole lot of mortgage bonds that were worth a lot less. They were in the banking system. That big domino caused all these other dominoes to fall. And as George Bush said, this sucker could go down, and it almost did.
But you know, if you look back at kind of what was actually done as a result of the crisis, I think we've done some things right. We've made the system stronger, and as far as the bailout itself and all the extraordinary measures that were taken, they had an ad hoc quality to them, but in hindsight, they look absolutely necessary.
Yeah, they did work, and the system is much safer than it is today. The Dodd-Frank Act raised capital requirements on banks. It increased regulation, especially on the big banks, so they can't do the wild thing again. Maybe the auto companies are going great guns.
Yeah, the other thing that was done was brought the shadow banking system, which was huge, into the realm of regulation, where the Fed and the other regulators kind of know what's going on with these credit default swaps and all this stuff that was completely outside. They were completely blindsided by that. That was the AIG problem.
That's true. The derivatives are much better regulated now. They're controlled a little bit. But ever since we passed these reforms, the banking industry, the investment banking industry, has been chipping away little bit by little bit, lobbying Congress to weaken them. And the big banks or the almost gigantic banks that have kind of gotten a little less regulation. Now the Volcker rule, which says that they can't bet their own money on stocks and bonds, they're starting to weaken that a little bit. And I don't think here we go again.
I mean, I've talked to some experts who say, we should have required the banks to raise even more capital, or we should be doing so now in the good times when they can raise capital, because if we go through another 2008, it's impossible to get people to invest in a bank at a time like that.
Well, the Federal Reserve is slowly raising short-term interest rates to kind of take a little bit of the edge about what might be coming if we keep growing at this rate, heading off inflation. Another thing they could do, instead of raising interest rates, or in addition to it, is raise capital requirements on the banks to slow things down just a little bit.
That's what I'm suggesting. I think that's one of the things that we've done. We've required more capital. We've made the banks sounder. We stress test them. We do a lot of things that nobody was thinking about 10 years ago until this calamity happened. But there's more that we shouldn't rest on our laurels, because the next crisis will be unlike the last one, and we need to be prepared.
That's right. It won't be mortgages bringing the economy down again, but it might be something else in the financial system, abroad, here. Raising capital, that cushion of money that protects the banks, that's a good idea.